Hello again, back again. It's Sunday evening again. I been doing a little bit of tidying and whatnot. Got myself all sorted out and ready. Figured I'll stop for a minute and do some more. Another quick little video. Won't be quite as long or quite as deep as the last one. But yeah, I figured I'll get something recorded just so I can try and decide when I'll actually post this. Probably not until next weekend. I'll probably post something in between now and then anyway. Something little 5-minute pointless video in the middle of the week. No doubt I'll think of something to yammer on about. But yep. So yeah, I thought make a little bit of video just about my plans specifically for my ears, where I plan on going, and perhaps a little bit about when I started with it all as well. I know someone, I forget who it was, someone asked what my original goals were with my ears and if they've changed at all. And yeah, figured I'd apologise for whoever it was. I forget offhand who it was that actually asked that, and I apologise. It's getting a little bit late and I'm starting to get a bit tired. But yeah, so I had my ears pierced. I didn't get my ears pierced until I was 18, if I remember rightly. It was just the case my parents didn't really like, well, they still don't like piercings, but they were concerned about the whole job thing and that sort of stuff. They're more worried about me being able to find work and having piercings, which obviously that hasn't proven to be a problem since I've been in full-time full-time work since I left school, so that's clearly not been too much of an issue. But I can understand their fears, especially, I mean, even now piercings still aren't majorly popular as such, but it's a hell of a lot easier now to get by with piercings than it was back, if I'm 31, about 15 years ago when I actually started all this. Yeah, I had other piercings before my ears that my parents didn't know about. Not technically true. My first ever piercing was my left nipple, and I convinced my parents, or my mum at least, to let me go and do that when I was 16, because I said, well, it's not on my face and it's just one, sort of thing. And that was the only one she knew about until I got my ears pierced after I turned 18. I promised her I wouldn't get any more that she knew of until I was 18. So yeah. So yeah, I actually had, like I say, my lobes were pierced when I turned 18. My lobes and my septum for the first time were both pierced on the same day as a like an 18th birthday present to myself. In fact, my split tongue was also an 18th birthday present to myself. But my septum actually got infected, and I ended up taking it out and re-piercing it myself a little bit later that same year. I'm sure it was the same year. Yeah, because always my birthday's in March. It was August, I think, of that same year when I actually then re-pierced my septum, which I said I actually did that myself the second time around. Not that I would ever recommend anyone doing their own piercings, but still, there you go. If I could go back in time, I would do it exactly the same all over again. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah. So yeah, I had my ears pierced at just your standard 1.6mm, and the plan was always to stretch them up. And I've never ever had a specific goal for them. I've always just wanted to see how big I can get them. Sorry, my septum's sliding about. I've always just wanted to see how big I can actually get them. Just out of pure curiosity. There were times where I never thought they'd even get as big as they were at their largest. Oh, I should have bought some of the jewellery with me. I didn't think of that. Yeah, there were times where I never thought they would even get as big as they did. I say at their largest they were 96mm. They're currently, I'm sure they're 72 at the moment. When I get these new earrings I've ordered through the post, I'll know exactly how big they are, because it should in theory say on the paperwork when I get them in. But I'm sure these are 76 and the ones I've ordered are I'm sure these are 72 and the ones I've ordered are 74. I'm sure of that. But yeah, we'll see. Fingers crossed it won't be too much longer. I can't even cross my fingers anymore. I used to be able to do that easily. My hands have gotten fat. But yeah, my fingers crossed they won't be too much longer. I've actually ordered them to go to my parents' house when they turn up, because I wasn't sure how long they would take. Obviously, because they're being custom made. I figured it would probably take a good couple of months. So I wasn't entirely sure if I would still be in this flat. Oh, the cat's just woken up. I wasn't entirely sure if I'd even still be in this flat when they got posted, so I figured it'd be easier just to send it to my parents' address. So that's still the plan, obviously. So fingers crossed they won't be too much longer, but I guess we'll see. But yeah, so obviously the plan, at least with the lobes, is just to keep stretching them. I would definitely want to get them back at least as big as they were. My big black tunnels are, that I've shown in other videos, are 99mm, which is it's like 4 inch and 7/8 or something like that, I think. And then I do have a pair of 4-inch glass tunnels that I bought years and years ago, just because they were really cheap, and I bought them years and years ago, and I've never yet been able to wear them, which is a shame. I'm not even entirely sure where they are, actually. They must be in my flat somewhere, but where they are I don't quite know. But I will, I'm sure I'll find those when we're doing this move and we start shifting everything out of here. I'm sure I'll stumble across them then. There is also the possibility they are still at my parents' house, and if they are, I know exactly where they would be. I just haven't looked, so that's fine. But yeah, I've always planned at the very least to get them up to 4 inches, and if I go bigger than that, then great, I'll go bigger than that. And I probably will go bigger than that eventually. So that's all something fun to look forward to. Something made a funny noise. I think it was a PlayStation. Anyway, yeah, that's all something to look forward to. It will take years and years. It's going to take years just to get back to where I was. There's no doubt about that. I can easily see it taking a good 3 or 4 years to get back to where I was and to start breaking new ground, so to speak. So yeah, that's the obvious one with the lobes, and the other piercings I still have in my ears is the obviously the conchas, which I've talked about a lot anyway. This one's 16. This one's currently 15 still. I will hopefully be trying to. This doesn't hurt, by the way. I know I just pulled a funny face. Hopefully I'll have this one up to 16 before I go away festival season. But that's slowly creeping up, and which means I'll have to try and stretch it sooner rather than later, because I really don't want to go to a festival with an uncomfortable conch piercing, because they swell up so much and they take a long time. Not unlike septums, actually. They take a long time to settle down after a stretch. In fact, bear with me. I'll just show you on how long the wearable area on these is. I have these made at 16mm wearable area. Sorry, my mouth is really dry for some reason. I have these made with a 16mm wearable area because of how much they swell up. And even with the full 16mm, they often swell up so much that they actually almost go right over the ends of the jewellery, both ends. That's why that's actually part of the reason why I go about custom ordering most of my jewellery. And this is something I actually think I'll actually talk about at some point in a video, the importance of actually ordering specifically made jewellery for different piercings and why it's important to have appropriate jewellery. That's something I'd like to discuss at some point further down the line. Maybe in a couple of weeks I'll do something like that. But yeah, for the time being. So yeah, as far as they go, I don't know exactly how big I'll go. I've toyed with the idea in the past of going up as big as 26mm. Whether I'll ever get quite that big or not, I don't know, because that will take a long time. And I say I've had these about a year less than I've had the lobes, and this is as far as I've gotten with them. So if you think that's, even I've had these more than 10 years, and this is as far as I've got with them. So whether I'll ever get up to something massive like I say 25, 26mm, I don't know. But we can always try. It'll be interesting to see. And The other piercings that I have, which I know I've shown a couple of times before, is the two tragus piercings in each ear. And I plan on stretching them up a little bit more. They were both pierced at, I think they were pierced at 1.2, if I remember rightly. And they have since been stretched up to, I believe they are now 2mm, or possibly 2.4. It's been so long, I'll have to actually measure them up properly before I order some new jewellery. That's something I'm planning on doing very soon, just because it's been so long since I've actually stretched them. And so I've literally stretched them perhaps 2 or perhaps 3 times at most. Sorry, my mouth is really dry. Excuse me. Oh, brilliant, that's foamed up. Alcohol-free beer. Anyway, I love that stuff. I can't stop drinking it. Actually, this is one of my least favourite brands of zero alcohol or low alcohol beer. But anyway, off topic. Yeah, I know I said before I'd like to stretch them. Maybe I like the idea of about 4mm. I think I can get some little tiny tunnels made for them, and I think that they would look good having a pair of 4mm tunnels in each one. So yeah, that's obviously all the piercings I have now. I remember years and years ago when I first started stretching, I wanted cartilage. Another one. I wanted cartilage piercings all the way around the outside of my ears, which the plan was literally to have like 20 odd rings around each ear. I obviously never got around to doing that, and I cannot be bothered to do that these days. I say these days I'm more into having less piercings but bigger piercings, just everything stretched. So I doubt I will ever do that. You never know, I might do something like that someday, but that's certainly not on the agenda at the moment. But it's something I still like the idea of having a couple in the outer ear. Obviously it'll depend a little bit on how much my ear gets deformed as I continue to stretch these guys up. Obviously that's going to alter the shape of my the overall shape of my ear and how much space I'll actually have to get other piercings. But I've always liked the idea of having a couple of large stretch piercings in the top. I've always liked the idea of having an outer conch piercing stretched bigger than whatever I end up with this one. But again, if I do end up with these guys like an inch or so, I'm probably not going to be able to stretch an outer conch to be even bigger than that. But I've liked the idea of having one further out, I have no idea how much you can see, but one further out here stretched quite big, and then one smaller one closer to the inside of my head, stretched a little bit less. And then I thought, I think a couple of videos ago I mentioned as well the idea of having a forward facing or a forward helix piercing, so these little bit in here pierced, and seeing if I can stretch that up as well. So that'd be quite an interesting little experiment to see if that'll actually work. But that should be interesting. So I don't think I've ever seen anybody try to stretch one of those, so again I'm just kind of curious to see if I can actually do it. This is a common theme with a lot of my modifications. I just do stuff to see if I can do it. So yeah, that'll be something else to try, experiment. Something else I have also considered, if I do get a very large outer conch piercing, let me see if I can think how to explain this. But so as the outer conch would stretch up and out, it would sort of cause this bit of tissue here in between where the top piercing would sit and my stretch lobe, it would sort of pull out a little bit. What I've considered doing is actually having some of the tissue removed, a little bit like, I know there's a modification called it's often called a coin slot, where basically a small slip of tissue is removed from the ear, and then quite often people wear several rings through it or something like that. But it basically gives the effect of just having a slip cut in the ear, so you can just see through. It doesn't necessarily have to have jewellery worn through it, but I quite like the idea of, if I ever do have a very large piercing in the top, to then have a bit of tissue removed in between the two there, just so I have, basically it'll just be another hole. But I think that might be an interesting little experiment to do again someday, much further down the line. And I would have to find a talented artist to do that. There's a couple that spring to mind. It would involve travelling. It would probably involve either travelling to see Sampa, or there's a chap in Sweden. I'm fairly certain he has a bit of experience doing coin slot type modifications, so maybe I would go see him. I forget what his name is. Something Tatum, I think, if I remember rightly. Anyway, not important. Yeah, so that's something else I may well do with the ears. And one other thing, if I ever do actually finish stretching my lobes, because the same as my septum, I can see myself just stretching them forever and never really stopping. So when come the day, or a day, if I ever do stop stretching my lobes, what I have considered doing is having several piercings all the way around the edge. So it would just be like wearing little labret studs through them, and it would give the appearance of just having loads of little silver balls all the way around the edge of the lobe. That's something else I have considered. Again, I don't know if I will ever actually do that or not, because the only problem with doing something like that is if I then did decide to continue stretching my lobes further down the line, that could potentially cause issues having several piercings through the lobe itself. That could result in sort of weaker spots where the actual piercings are, that could potentially lead to thinning out and the actual lobes itself splitting as I stretch more. But we will, like I say, that's something that's way down the line if I ever do. I'm sure at some point I will get to a size where either for whatever reason I can't stretch anymore, or they just start to get in the way too much or something like that. Then I would consider stopping then. And then that's maybe when I would consider getting little studs through the lobe put in. But we'll see. And the only other thing I have considered doing with my ears is, I think I spoke about this again in my tattoo video, but to have the entire outer rim and the entire lobe itself tattooed black. Sort of think the best way to describe it is that it would almost look like a black 3 sort of all the way around my ear almost. I think that's the best way I can think of describing that, exactly how that would look. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it actually as far as the long-term plans for the ears go. I think that's everything anyway. Like, I have considered the odd other thing in the past as well, like piercings through the rim, like helix type piercings, and having sort of several of those stretched and things like that. But I don't think I'd ever bother doing that, just because it would be an interesting little experiment, but I'm just not that fussed about it. At the end of the day, the way I look at it, I've only got one go at all this as far as I'm aware. I don't believe in reincarnation, so I'd like to dedicate the time I have to the little projects that I think I will get the most out of. Well, excuse me, this beer is bubbly. So yeah, I will. I plan on dedicating my time to the little individual projects that I feel I'll get the most out of personally, and the ones that interest me the most. So yeah, I think that's basically it for what I want to do with these guys, with the ears. I have other plans that I'm considering putting in other videos at some point. So I have obviously a long-term nose plan. I have a long-term lip plan. I would love big stretch lip piercings someday, and sort of other mouth modifications, which I will go into in the other video. And I have some other little experimental ideas that I would like to try out as well, with heavy modifications, and a few arguably controversial type modifications that I may well experiment with someday in the far distance. But I think I'll talk about all these in another video at some point. And yeah, I'm starting to get a little bit tired now, so I will say goodbye for now. And I say I'll probably get this loaded up maybe next Friday or Saturday. I'll stick something else silly up in between. I was considering recording a third video now, but I don't think I can be bothered. So yeah. Anyway, thank you for sticking with me through this. And hope you found it interesting. And I will speak to you all again soon. Try for now.